So hello, I am Paula Burch Jackson, and today we're going to be talking about how to be a real, R-E-A-L success. I put a tag on while working a job, but I am confident that this class will help you become a real success in any area of your life. Because even if you're not working a corporate job, if you're a mama or a daddy, if you're a sister or a brother or a child, if you have anything outside, if you've been in real estate for just 5 minutes, you know that there are always competing priorities that we have. So this class will help you in those areas. Okay. So real for me, it is an acronym. It is about relationship, equipping, having the right attitude, and leadership. So how to be a real success? Building healthy relationship. The number one person that you need to build a healthy relationship if you're going to have a job, anything outside of Keller Week, is the first one is a relationship with yourself, with your coworkers, and with your clients. Right? So y'all got myself in minutes. The relationship with yourself. You have to become your own best advocate. You have to live your own truth, and you have to do what's best for you. When you decide to become a real estate agent, there's a reason why you decided to do that, right? Now, if you're working in corporate America, and like I said, even if it's a job or any outside influences, you have to be your own advocate. You have to decide what it is you want for you and why you want it. And then you have to be your own voice. So in 2020, what happened in 2020? Pandemic. And none of us saw it coming, right? And I remember when the pandemic first happened, a lot of people was unsure about what the real estate industry was going to do. So there was a lot of anxiety. And I got a phone call from my previous manager asking me if I would come back to CDC to help with the pandemic. I worked at CDC for 30 years, and my job has always been, y'all heard of H1N1? I led that initiative. Y'all heard of Ebola? I led that initiative. Zika, I led that initiative. So now COVID hit and they didn't have me to lead that initiative, right? So they called and asked if I would come back to help. I'm hearing all of this outside noise about what the market may or may not do. So I'm like, let me take a hit for the country and go back and help so that we can get our life back, right? So I get there. They called me one day while I was actually out with the client. The client was in the car with me, and I don't normally, she happened to be in the car with me, begging me to come back. I'm like, okay. So I go back with the understanding that you know that this is my first priority, that real estate was my first priority, and this is what I'm gonna do. And then when I got back, guess what happened? No, they forgot. I ain't forget, they forgot, right? So I had to become my own best advocate. And so when I was pulled in different directions and when I was being rolled up because I couldn't meet an obligation that they had, I had to continuously remind them, you call me, right? And this is what I'm gonna do. I had to live my own truth. I was done with corporate America. I'll help when I can, but this is my passion. You know why this is my passion? Because I get to create my own check, right? I get to determine my own wealth. And I determine that by how much work I'm ready to sow in myself. And I said to myself, I have these conversations, so y'all forgive me, I'm not crazy, it's just what works for me. And I said to myself, self, you have to decide how you're gonna make this work for you. I said to myself, self, you worked hard for CDC, you need to work just as hard for yourself, right? So I had to start doing it. It came with a price. You have to live your own truth, and then you have to do what's best for me. And what was best for me was not to lose the momentum that I had in my business that I had already established. And I was keeping up with Lewis. Relationship with coworkers. Now this is very important because sometimes I gotta go to closing. So I'm gonna disappear for a minute, right? They may not know where I'm at. You have to develop a relationship with your coworker, and the first one is to develop a dependable relationship with your boss. So I told you I'd already had a conversation with my boss to tell him, hey, this is what's gonna work. But like I said, sometimes the boss forgot, but they knew that I was an asset. So because I was such an advocate for myself, did y'all know what happened in 1770? Was it 1778? Something happened in 1778. Something was signed. Is that the year? Nobody, is that the wrong year? something about independence. What is it? 1776. That's it. Okay, I was close. What was I? And what did that say? You're independent, right? That means I'm my own individual. I'll be reminding you that the Declaration of Independence was signed, and I am actually an adult. I am my own boss. I work for you, and I'm gonna do a good job, but I am grown, and nobody will dictate to me how I live my life. Now, if you're not confident in yourself, you may not want to try this, but I'm very confident in myself, and I know what my potential is. And again, they call me, and I've already showed them that, and I said it out loud. Then you have to have an open and honest conversation. So when I saw that they were pulling me too much to the left, I had to put a pause on it. And I had to say, look, how do we create a win-win? Because at the end of the day, they were still paying me. I would say they was paying me well, but when you work in real estate, you talked about a number you made 1 month. She said when she made $20,000 in a month, she's like, woo, and she gets chill for a month, right? You can write those on checks for yourself when you're in real estate. And so when I got my first paycheck, when I got back to corporate America, I'm like, what's this, a tip? And I make over 6 figures at 63, but I'm like, dang, but when Uncle Sam take all his and all that other stuff that comes out of it, I'm like, geez, I really can't lose focus. You have to develop a trusted relationship with your peers. When I went back to CDC, a couple of Kim, one of our agents in this office, she also went. And so Kim and I, we developed a relationship. Of course, I was her boss too, so she had that up on them. But also some of her peers. Look, I got to go run this closing. Can you cover for me? Still being honest with your boss. Sometimes your boss may or may not support that. But if they do, then just tell them, hey, set realistic expectation with them. But have that person who will have your back. And if I can say, Lunch, I got to run out. Can you cover for me? Then I can say to my supervisor, listen, Lunch is going to hold it down for me. I'll be back by whatever time this is. If you have a supervisor who's not willing to work with you on that, don't ever forget your own worth. If they don't value you, that they will support you, maybe you're in the wrong line of work, period. Because there's people hiring on every corner, especially since the pandemic, right? So always know your worth if you still have to stay in corporate America, okay? So make sure that they will cover for you, but that person, that coworker, they got to really want to cover for you. That last sentence says someone who will celebrate your success. Because if they hating up on you, they're going to be throwing you up under the bus. So you have to make sure it's somebody that you can trust, who value you and you value them. Does that make sense? Okay. Relationship with your clients, man. When I went back to corporate America, a lot of my clients, they wanted to try to help me out. They were just like, well, Paula, I know you're busy now. Well, Paula, I know you work at CDC. And so they wanted to try to help me out by taking their business and giving it somewhere else. No. So they're not helping me. So we sat down and we set realistic expectations. And I have to let my yes be yes and my no be no. Under promise and over deliver. Tell them I'll have this to you by Friday, but have it to them by Tuesday, if you can. You know what I mean? And so just develop that relationship and keep that line of communication open. When sometimes stuff happened that was out of my control, I reached my client. I know we said it was going to do this, and I leveraged other agents in the office. Leaned on Flounder a lot. I have some agents that if I had opened up doors and they're in Lawrenceville and I'm on the clock, I can't go to Lawrenceville. So I paid other agents to open doors for me, right? Paid other agents just to go to close with me. And I try to do that because that's the fun part of our job. But for the most part, you leverage those other agents that can help you hold down the fort while you're doing your business. And the clients love it. And you always give a good closing gift too. So yeah. Building positive relationship allows you to commit to ensure your business your number one priority. You have to be committed to saying, this is my number one priority. And sometimes we get committed to that paycheck. Sometimes I show up at work. I don't have to do one thing but show up on Friday, every other Friday, I'm still gonna get a paycheck. That's not the case in our real estate business. We've got to actively work. No one is going to make it happen for us. So we have to actively work. And the only way we will build success is to make it a commitment that this will always be my number one priority. And it will always require a reminder and of crucial conversations. This is what my passion is. And again, there's nothing like having a boss that support your dreams, right? And so, but make that your number one priority. And when you're making your business your number one priority, that's some extra work you're gonna have to do. Okay. You gotta, so the R is relationship. The E is for equip. In order for you to equip yourself for success, you got to develop a schedule and stick to it. You got to plan your day the night before. Anybody plan their day the night before? Doesn't it work? So you don't work up overwhelmed. And you got to set success targets. You got to commit to following a rigorous schedule. And that's what my schedule looked like. Determine how many hours per day, per week, you're required for you to do an outstanding, not just on your job, but also on your career. So you have to say, how many hours am I going to commit a day to my job? How many hours I'm going to commit per day to my business? Sometimes for me, it required me having to work a little bit later at CDC so that I can take some time and do some stuff that I needed to do for my real estate business during the day. I was willing to do that. I said sleep was overrated. I'm gonna get it in the rapture. Okay. Right. The hours left over, the hours available for your business. Commit to a schedule that ensures you can succeed at both. You have to set realistic goals for yourself and be true to your own self. Don't say you can climb Mount Rushmore if you know you can't climb Stone Mountain. You know what I mean? Set realistic goals for yourself. I don't know why this. The other one is going to be our attitude. I don't know why I'm not sliding. What is attitude? Let me go back out because this is, I forgot to take those things off. I'm sorry. What is attitude? James Allen said a person cannot travel within and stand without. What does that mean? A person cannot travel within and stand without.
Basically, you can't dream without putting action.
Can't dream without putting out. You can't have something going on the inside of you and expect for it to show up differently on the outside. Right? If I'm in torment on the inside, that's what's going to show up on the outside. So everything starts with my attitude. You will be surprised if I go on that job every day regurgitating because I have to be here and I don't like doing this and I don't like doing it. If that's what's going on the inside, that's what's going to show up in the outside. Right? Our attitude is a choice. We get to choose our attitude. We cannot control what may happen on a given day. I may have made my plan for the night before to do this, that, and the third, but then something happened like COVID that I didn't see coming. I didn't expect it. So I have to adjust. But no matter what that circumstance it is, it's still a choice. You still get to choose how you're gonna look at it. We can choose to look at the glass as what? Half empty or half full. You get to choose. Can't nobody make that choice but you. And if you choose happy thoughts, I love our bold law. And one of my favorite is your thoughts eavesdrop on your emotions.
One of my favorite is change the way you look at things.
Change, and that was the other. Change the way you look at things and the way you see things change. And you have to ask yourself if you're feeling some kind of way, why am I feeling this way? What's really going on? That's another one of those self-talks.
Everybody feel bold in this KW. I advise y'all to bold with the shift.
Yes, absolutely. A lot of good nuggets in there. She just talked about bold. And if you haven't taken bold, to take it because these where these nuggets come from. Okay. So it's your choice. Choose wisely because you cannot travel without and then expect something different within. Your attitude determines your approach to life. Again, when something happens that we can't control, your attitude will say adjust or readjust. You have to keep your attitude positive. Who says our attitude determines our altitude? Who's that? Was that Jesse Jackson? Somebody used to be a the most important single ingredient to the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people. Leverage other people, create wins. You win more bees with honey than you do with apple cider with vinegar, right?
Relationship currency.
Right. She said relationship currency. Oh, I went too fast. Sorry. Our attitude is the only difference between success and failure. Now, for me, there's really no such thing as failure. It does not exist. Right? How many tries did it take Thomas Edison to create that light bulb? $999. And when they asked him, how did he keep going when he failed so many times? He said, I didn't fail. I just found 999 ways of how not to do it. Right? Failure, fail to fail is the first attempt in learning. So I just want to put that out there because there's no such thing as failure. We don't fail. We fall forward. Right? So it's the only difference between, but that mindset, if you feel like you're failing most of the time, that changes our attitude and we want to give up. We want to quit. We want to take on another part-time job. We want to do things that's not going to build our best business. So your attitude will determine if you keep going or not. Make sense? At the beginning of the task will affect the outcome more than anything else. How you start determines how you. So if your attitude starts off wrong, your attitude is going to finish wrong. Attitude is everything. We talked about the R being a relationship. We got a 4-year relationship. We talked about the E being equipped, and now the attitude. And we're learning 7 points I think I got in the attitude, because everything starts with here, with our mindset. And if our mindset is set for a positive attitude, there is absolutely nothing, say nothing, that you can't accomplish. That's one I took on. And our attitude can turn our problems into what? It's all about how you look at it. Can I tell you a secret? See what happened? May 31st. I was so happy. What happened? May 31st. Alana Shay. My official retirement day happened. And I was so happy because I have an appointment at 3 o'clock to get them their computer and stuff back. I was so happy. That was the best appointment in my life. So I drove up to the CDC and I handed them all of their stuff. I'm sitting in the closing on June 2nd. And my client says, how does retirement feel? And I said, it feels wonderful. And then my phone started ringing. And it was CDC. I don't have to answer y'all phone calls no more. So I deleted it. I sent it to spam, right? And then it rang again. And I deleted it again. I sent it to my voicemail again. And then it rang the 3rd time while I'm sending my clothes. And I'm like, what do they want? So I get up. I go take my phone call. And the lady on the other line says, Paula, did you read my email? I sent it at 11:59 last night. No, ma'am, I was asleep at 11:59. What's going on? She says, I made a mistake. I said, okay, what kind of mistake? I miscalculated your retirement. Okay. What needed all these things, right? I says, by how much? I expected her to say a week, a month. This thing said a year. I said, I'm in the closing. I'll call you back. So I hung the phone up and I went and called her. I said, what the matter? She said it was human error. No, boo. 2 weeks, a month is human error. A year is a major. So I said, okay, I had to do some woosah. And then I had to just what? The slide. I had to adjust my attitude because getting upset about it wasn't gonna fix it. So I called her and said, what do we need to do to fix this? And she was looking at all the options. One of the options was going from almost $6,000 a month in retirement to $1,300. That wasn't gonna work. That ain't no option, boo. And the other option was to come back to work. That wasn't a good option, but I've had to adjust my attitude and figure out how do I create a win in that for myself. So I'm on clock right now, but I'm here teaching y'all. Y'all don't talk. Want to do it. Want to do it. Yeah. So I had a conversation right before I left. This lady was begging me to not retire. She was begging me to come help stand up her team, that she needs to stand up a team. I called her back. I said, hey, this is what happened. How can we create a win-win? And she said, so Paula, how long do I have you for? I said, you got me for a year. She says, we'll make it happen. So she brought me back, but she also brought somebody to shadow me. So, and I told her, I said, now, I wasn't a person who was going to retire and then sit around eating bun and get fat. I got a business that I'm standing up that I've already put a lot of training and a lot of thoughts and a lot of effort into my next. And I got stuff on my calendar. I want to make sure this is not going to be an issue because we got to create a great relationship with our boss. Remember we talked about that? And so she says, yes, whatever you need, I got it. And whenever I feel like she's forgetting that she said that, I just remember, wait a minute, remember you said. So like today when I called her, she needed to talk about some stuff. So we met about 8 o'clock this morning, right? And so, and we're here now. So I had to change my attitude. And so what I decided is always look for the silver lining, because I don't know what your faith is, but I got faith in the higher power. His name God. I just trust God. And I said, now God, while I'm surprised about that day, you ain't surprised about it, right? So you saw this 3 years coming and I didn't see it coming. So there's a reason why I'm here. For whatever that reason is, I'm just gonna be happy about it and go on and collect that check and put it over here in that account that Alicia talked about earlier that I don't touch now, because I'm still gonna use my business to live off this. So that means I gotta grind, because this is my bread and butter now. And this extra money that the CDC is giving me, I thank God for. We're just gonna stack it on over there. And then I also decided, oh, this house to live, because I got a grandbaby and she need her own space. So I decided to go on and get a house. So we're getting our house built. So because it's all about your attitude. And it's always about looking for that win. And there's always a win in every situation. What you focus on, expands. She know her brother-in-law. You.
Oh.
So it can turn our problems into blessings. Y'all see how God turned my problem into a blessing? Right. What is the difference between obstacles and an opportunity?
The way you view it.
Right. The way you view it. Our attitudes towards it. It's all about how you look at it. Now I give myself the moments. Now I had to give myself that little 5 minutes to cuss and scream and say some words that's not in the Bible. But every opportunity has difficulty, and every difficulty has an opportunity. We just have to sometimes look for it. And it's always there, but you gotta look for it. My husband passed away in 2006, my first son. And I remember when after the dust had settled and the phone calls had stopped, I was having a moment. And in that moment, Dana, I was like, God, this is horrible. I got these 2 children. I got all of this stuff that's going to happen. How am I gonna send them to college? How am I gonna do this? All of these emotions. And every time I had a issue, I kept hearing and I'm like, why I keep hearing and in my head? And then the scripture says, and we know that all things work together for your good. Romans 8:28. That scripture just kept rolling. Sometimes I had to look for the good in it, but I learned so much out of that loss. You know what I mean? I didn't even know my own strength before it happened. I didn't know how smart I was before it happened. I didn't know that I had drive. I didn't even know that I liked working out before it happened. I'm a beast in the gym when I go. Right. 7 can give us an uncommonly positive. Our attitude can give us an uncommonly positive perspective. What you saying right now? That resonated with you. Tell me what it said.
I think it resonated most because the word uncommonly.
Uncommonly.
Some of the things that we experience is like why I got peace right now? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? I should be in shambles over there.
Right.
But you know, when you choose, like you said, attitude choice.
Right.
When you choose,
And it's uncommon.
Yeah.
The whole world may be falling apart, and why you at peace? Because my attitude.
Because Romans 8:28.
Because Romans 8:28. Because what I focus on expand.
Right.
Because my sales eavesdrop on my emotion.
Seriously, you have to speak. Well, I have to speak myself a lot.
All
Especially
the
when
time.
you get one of them agents on the other line that just, like, "Ooh, Lord."
Out loud.
So
Out
we
loud.
need to
Have
shut
those
this thing, but I
conversations.
cannot change. That is,
Yeah.
I have learned to do it. And it gets you through too.
Absolutely.
Like, sometimes you gotta pause.
Period.
Literally.
Paula.
Can I talk about this for a minute?
Mhm.
So attitude is so critical. Let's take the pivot shift call,
Uh-huh.
right? When this all happened, everybody, they showed a screenshot of everybody on the very first day we were disheveled, dazed, and confused. Okay, looking crazy, wise, and otherwise. All we did was make a choice to show up on this call with this dude named James. Like, right. We don't know what's gonna happen. But the more we just kept making the choice to show up every day, it's a 20-minute call. It ain't all day.
Right.
And then the biggest thing was about our attitude and what to do. And every single line of this has been displayed all the way until the uncommonly. So then when you realize people are running around with chickens with their heads cut off, and you're still plugging away and chugging away, and when they say make care calls, it's gonna show up 90 days later. You're gonna get checks or you're gonna get bills. We didn't have sense enough to not to believe it, so we just believed it.
Right.
But the attitude, and then another thing about attitude, Paula, you know, y'all don't know this about her yet. Some of y'all do, Jesus Christ. But she had to get me together one day. I was on the phone for the first time with this investor's assistant. And we had just went binding. And she sent me this email about earnest money. And the email was typed in such a way that I took offense to it. Well, what I later found out when Paula was like, well, what does that have to do with you? What she said, you already we just went by me today, Paula, why is she talking to me like that? What I found out is the young lady's just sending her boilerplate copy and paste emails. It had nothing to do with me, had nothing to do with the earnest money. And Paula had to remind me, what does that have to do with you? And I had to just get out of my emotions, get out of my feelings, because nobody was late. There was no default. I didn't understand. The problem was my attitude about what she said. And when I talked to her, she was like, it's an automated email, first of all. So I'm not even sure what email you're talking about. Let me go look. She's like, oh, it's so even in these real estate transactions, when you're the one with the uncommon positive perspective, because we're all about the win, win, win for everybody, that becomes the difference maker. When you look at all of these line items, anyway, just the attitude is so critical. That's all I'm saying. How many illustrations we have in our day-to-day as real estate agents.
Thank you, Deanna, for that. Yeah, I was trying to figure out why this slide is different. It looks like the wrong one got folded, and I got a couple more slides. That's not on here. So pause with me. We'll just, so far, any questions that anybody have about anything that we have talked about so far? Any questions, any thoughts, any comments?
I know, right? Don't turn. This is Mac. That you may have to just go from the flow of it where we can't see it.
So she got
Mac
people
now.
online right there. So ask Dion. Do you mind asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Tell them to resend it to her. I don't know why that happened. I'm sorry, y'all, if y'all watching, but my slides are all
It's okay.
attitude. See, that's why that had to happen, because y'all had to see my attitude. They positive. So I want to keep talking, but we talked so far about what's the R? Relationship. Relationships with who? Yourself,
Your boss,
your boss,
your peers.
and your peers. What's the E? Equipping. And what do we do to equip ourselves? Plan our day the night before. And what does that look like, Valencia? When you're planning your day the night before, what are some things that you want to make sure that you do?
So my day in the morning is already set with the 2 Zoom calls we do with James Shaw and Script Practice, and then lead generation from 9:30, ideally to 11, but sometimes that's 9:30 to 10 o'clock. But then I look at what comes up, but as long as I put it on my Google Calendar, I know where closings are, what I can do with family, what I have to do with my son, but it varies from day to day.
Okay.
It varies, but I gotta look at it and I gotta have it here. I try to write it, but the truth is, as long as I write it here, I know, like today, I wanted to be here in person, so we just gonna rearrange some things, but I knew what I had to rearrange and where I could put it, because it was on there.
And so when you're working in corporate America, this is what my planning the night before look like. I look at my business calendar. I look at my CDC calendar. I started placing my business stuff on my CDC calendar, right? So that if someone is trying to schedule some times with me at my work and I've got something I've got to do for my business, that time, that slot is taken. So they can't even schedule, they can't even plug anything in there, right? And sometimes, because I have a relationship with my boss, I will let them know, hey, I owe you an hour on the back end because I got to take care of this during the day, because it's about open communication. So first I get my calendars in sync, right? And then I start planning my day, my lead generation calls. Woo. Because I'm a life coach too, and most of the time when I'm calling people in my database, they know that. And so my calls are never 2 or 3 minutes. So then I had to start being more strategic about that. So I have to start saying, okay, this is gonna take more than 5 minutes. So let's schedule some time in my afternoon so that I can have that conversation with you. And again, it's being your own advocate, being your own boss, putting your own measures in place, because we're setting up for success. So we talked about the relationships, we talked about equipment, then one that we stuck on was attitude. Attitude determines our altitude. And no matter where you are in your life, if you want to excel, you got to check your attitude, check yourself. People often say, well, she made me feel. Can somebody make you feel anything? Can they? Can somebody make you feel something?
If you allow them to.
If you like, but the truth of the matter, they still can't make you. You just doing, what's the number one? It's a choice. You choose to feel that.
I mean, but as humans, that's just natural.
And that's an excuse that we have to have.
But that's
That
where
is.
accountability people come in at too, though,
Huh?
right? Like, if you come in and I know you see you high and chip her up and this great pretty smile, I'm like,
Right, you can
hey, hey,
sense.
hey, hey, let's talk, come on, let's walk and
Right,
talk.
what's wrong?
It's still-
And then help you get it off.
It's a book called The Four Agreements.
I got that.
Right. That book saved my life because that lets me know no matter what happens in life, I still get to choose how I respond to it.
What's the name of that book?
The Four Agreements.
The 7 spiritual laws
So hold on. It's called The Four Agreements. It's by Miguel. Miguel.
And the funny thing about it, it's a short, quick read. It's
Yeah.
really short and quick. It's like
Yeah.
a small.
And the four agreements are these: be impeccable with your words.
Mhm.
Let your yay be yay, your nay be nay. Speak positive, speak life. Don't take anything personal. When you begin to start taking things personal, you're making life about you. So when somebody else is acting crazy and doing something that's stirring up some emotions in you, it ain't got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with that person. And so when I say nobody can make you feel anything, you choose to feel that way. And when I do react sometimes in a way that I would choose not to react, that's when I have to have those conversations. Now, Paula, why did you respond that way? And guess what? It's always gonna be triggers. When somebody calls, when something happens and you respond in a way that I always say does not produce positive results, does not produce love, then there's something on the inside of me that was triggered that I need to check. And then I have to have those conversations. I have to figure out why I felt like that, and then I have to deal with it. I always tell my chicken nugget story right about now. I have a chicken nugget story. So what is that?
Yeah.
You never heard chicken nugget story? You don't heard chicken nugget
I
story.
don't know.
So one time, I had some chicken nuggets from McDonald's. I ain't like them. And I said, I'm just gonna put them in the refrigerator and my husband can have them when he get home. And then I went to bed. Then I woke up and came downstairs and saw that he was eating the chicken nuggets that I said I was gonna give him anyway. And I went from 0 to 100. I got mad that he was eating the chicken nuggets that I was gonna give him anyway.
Why you got mad? 'Cause he asked you.
So, cause he asked me for my chicken nuggets, but I didn't know this though. I went off. I went off. I cursed him out. I dashed water in his face
Not
for some
chicken
chicken nuggets
nuggets?
that I didn't even want. I mean, I snapped. I'm like, what? And then he jumped up because I dropped the water and I ran.
You was an angry black woman.
What? So I
Chicken
went
nuggets?
upstairs and I'm like, you never felt like you was doing something, but you were standing outside of yourself watching you doing it. That's what I felt like. I felt like I was totally disconnected from myself and I couldn't stop myself.
What true?
And so I went upstairs. I'm like, God, why am I acting like that? I'm the second born of 5 children. I could never eat all my food. And I would always put it in the refrigerator. And when I go back for it, it was always gone. And whenever I tell my mom would say, well, you should have ate it. That triggered him. And it wasn't that he ate it, he didn't ask. I was
Right.
supposed to give it to you. You should have asked. Now I had to apologize to him. And I had to explain to him what my dilemma was. And 99.99% of the time, when we have those kind of outbursts, because we all have had them, don't be just looking at me like that. Y'all don't have some outbursts like that, right? It's always gonna go back to something
Yeah.
at a different space in our life. And those are things that, thank you. Is there? Thank you so much. Those are things that are so buried in our lives. Deanna, is that moving? Am I doing it wrong? Okay. That we have to address. And all the time, she talked about a minute ago about some clients, woo. They stir some stuff sometimes, don't they? Age is on the other side. They stir some stuff all the time, right? But in order for us to be
They
the,
feel like they've been in the game longer than
and that one right now, that right
you.
there. But it's okay. Thank you. There we go. It's okay because we're all in it to win it. And so we keep our attitude right. Thank you so much, it worked. And if we're determined to make sure that we always create that space to win, then we won't let people like that give it us. But we always have to stay on the space. You have a question?
Something that I've been thinking about as we've been having this conversation with, just to remember that, you know, all of this takes practice. So it's
She
not.
said it
it's
takes
not
practice
realistic.
and practice and practice.
Right.
And we're gonna fall for it a lot.
Yeah, it's not realistic to be like, okay, well, I left the session, I'm feeling good, I'm back to, and you go home and somebody do something, and then it's just over. It's not just over, you just have to get it.
What's your name?
Maya.
Maya, you know what they call that? A pop test.
I was just gonna say, the thing about it is, when you have that spirit of discernment, or you have that, that conscience, don't put it on me, please, please up front. But when you put your conscience, it'll check you right then, so that you be prepared for the next time. Cause it always happens like that. I was like, dang, God, I just felt it.
Yes, because every time you learn something new,
Yeah.
when you're in school, you learn something, and then the next day you come back, she says, take out a piece of paper, because we're gonna have a what? And life does the same thing. In order for you to know that you got it, you gotta go through the experience, right? You gotta put it to the test.
You know, my biggest thing was not dealing with it, but honestly, that's the worst way to try and heal yourself. Cause I'd be like, you know what, they were talking crazy, I just ain't even gonna talk to them no more, you know what? But if you don't really deal with like, hey, you know what, you were talking crazy the other day. Like, some people don't understand, you know what I'm saying? And then some people are actually misunderstood or whatever, and or whatever. So I've learned that you literally have to deal with it in order to heal from it, because avoiding it doesn't help you.
Then you're just piling in more stuff.
Right.
That's gonna come out like some chicken nuggets.
Right.
So you have to deal with it.
Right.
So the L. So we're on the L, okay, is leadership. And the type of leadership that I'm talking about when you're trying to balance two worlds is self-leadership. Before you lead others, you gotta know how to lead yourself. Self-leadership is the practice of understanding who you are, identifying your desired experiences, and what intentionally guiding yourself toward them. It spans the determination of what we do, why we do it, and how we do it. It's the having those conversations with yourself and understanding, why am I doing stuff? Sometimes we just go through life sort of like robots doing stuff and don't even know why we're doing it. When you're trying to build a business while you're working a job or being a mom, being a parent, or doing any multi task, you have to have that self-discipline. So when we talk about equipping yourself, self-leadership will help you do that. The ability to lead yourself requires self-management. That is the process of determining a desired end state, comparing that to the current state, and subsequently taking action to close the gap between the two. What do I mean by that? What do I want? Where am I now? And how do I get to where I want to be? I'm working at CDC right now. I want to be completely retired. So what do I need to do to get there? Well, in this case, I just got to work these little 11 months
So our
and keep building my business, right?
well, our pastor says that a different way. The same thing. He says, start where you are,
Mhm.
use what you have, and do what you can.
Period.
What you can do is sit there.
And do nothing.
And do nothing. You can't do that.
Fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Absolutely.
And the last is self-determination. I like, do Channel 5 still say dedicated, determined, dependable, something? Do they still say that? Self-determination describes the reciprocity between human motivation and a purpose of life. What am I willing to give or give up to get what I want? Remember, I told you, I just gave up sleep. It's overrated. I sleep, but I don't need no full 8 hours. Right? I have to work a little later. I have to give up sometimes. My nails are horrible. They don't look at them. Because I don't really have time to go throughout the day to sit for 2 hours to get my nails done, no more. I'll find space to do it eventually, but it's not a priority for me because I'm balancing two worlds. When I leave here, I gotta go to Atlanta because I have a closing, so I gotta get the key to take it back to my client. You gotta do what you gotta do, right? It's that self-determination. And you get to decide what that looks like. The best talk is self-talk. Leading yourself to that place where you want to be, leading that potential that you know that's inside of you. You can do it. See, when you have your own business, it's not a clock that you got to clock into. You don't have boss man standing over your shoulder, pointing their finger at you, telling what's going to happen if you don't, threatening your check, right? So you've got to lead yourself. When you're in business, I got to decide to get up before 12 o'clock. Who sleeps that late? Right? The same amount of time that you get in to go to corporate America on the weekend or whatever, set that schedule. Now, Sunday, I say this, I'm not really telling the whole truth, but I'm trying to make it my truth. Sunday is the day that I don't do anything. That's my Sabbath. I have to be able to rest. It don't always work out like that way, but I am being more intentional about doing that. Right? You have to give yourself some unwind, some and that's one of the things I like about being here sometimes, because we have some opportunities to get together, to wind down and do things just to woosah. It's necessary. You pick up new habits, you pick up new opportunities, right? On my corporate America job, I told them I work on Fridays because I need a 3-day weekend, so I don't work on Fridays. Friday's my off day. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't work there. Friday, Sunday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm a beast about my business. Most of my stuff that I try to plan, there is no try. Most of the things that I plan is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, my appointments. If my clients can wait, if they can't, we're gonna do what we have to do. But you set those expectations.
That's my question. How do you set the expectation when you have a new client? Do you do it during your consultation? Like let's say they work third shift and they got all day to go see houses. Things like that.
So how do I work that when I have a client and like my hours it's not conducive to theirs? I leverage other agents.
And you tell them that your
I
client
tell them
knows,
that. Oh yeah, I tell them that.
Kim,
Absolutely. And that, you know what? All money in business is not good money too. I'm okay if what I tell you don't work for you. That means that we're not a good match. And I'm okay with that. But I know who I am and I know what I'm capable of doing. And if you decide to walk, I'm just gonna write on my calendar a date because I know you're gonna be back. Because I am all of that. I am the chip and the potato. You know what I mean? So I know my worth.
Right.
And this is my realistic expectation. And if that does not work for my client, I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? And so if they work at night and our hours don't, and they're not willing to work with another agent, then I can't help you. Right?
Two things to just piggyback off of that. I took a class recently from like a really top, well-known realtor in Atlanta, and she was telling me, on like, on a one-on-one call, talking to her, she told me what she does is when she does her buyer consultation, she actually already set the expectation in there. She has a showing assistant. So she already let that client know, like, hey, like this, she's like, she don't even see them clients again after the first consultation until the closing day. She connect them, she let them know that this person will be showing them any homes they want to look at, any questions that they have, to contact that showing assistant or whatever. But then I can also say for me, my business started scaling up when I changed the way I looked at myself. Like I'm an asset. Like I literally don't market myself now. Like people literally call me today, like, oh, she the shit. She know what she doing. Like they follow me on social media or whatever. And once you change the way you present or whatever, the business will start coming to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just all about what you see yourself as and how valuable you are to those clients. Because they won't even go, no, I would never get a buyer brokerage agreement signed until putting it off. Don't go nowhere. Sometimes they come like, I know you probably was busy or whatever. Like I met these young ladies, prime example, this girl called me like last week. She texted me like 2 days ago. She's like, you forgot about me? I was in Stars and Stripes one day, and they was just like, she must be a fun person. But before I was leaving, I was like, hey, I see y'all at the bar. It was probably like 6 girls. They had their children there for a little birthday party, one of the girls. So I was like, just wanted to share my business card, and they seen my card. They was like, oh, your card's straight. She called me. This is about 2 months ago at Stars and Stripes. She's like, I had your card in my purse or whatever. And she called me, so I forgot to call her back that evening. She called me like 2 days later, and she's like, hey, I think you forgot me, or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you present yourself as an asset. They won't go nowhere. They only gonna call you because they want to see what you can do for them.
Sometimes,
Well, right.
sometimes, that's not always true.
Yeah, that is
Yeah,
true. 'Cause
right.
people do get
And
impatient,
it
but
depends on the person,
it
right?
depends on the person. But when you set, when you set that expectation up front, a lot of them are loyal to you. They
But
won't
that's
go
the
in
key,
another
is set
route.
that expectation up front. But for me, I do get a buyer's brokers and sell it only because the law requires it.
Right,
So
right,
I do
right,
make
right.
sure yeah, because anything can happen and I don't want to hold yourself viable. So the state of Georgia requires that you do that. So make sure,
You have to have that before you submit an offer. So,
no, before you take them out for one showing. It says it even on the guard form. So yeah,
oh, it must have changed.
yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
don't listen.
It's
to
been like
me.
that since I've been in the business.
Don't listen to
right?
me, y'all. Yeah, mute that. I ain't said that.
Okay. So we talked today about,
Now I gotta pull it up.
so we talked about how to be a real estate success, a real success. And it's all about relationships. It's all about being equipped. It's about having the right attitude and the ability to lead yourself. And I assure you, if you put these things to part, but it's work. I'm not gonna make it sound, I think you said it's like, it ain't like it's gonna be easy. But anything that's easy is not even worth that.
It's simple, but it's hard work.
Say it again.
It's simple, but it's hard work.
It's simple, but it's hard work.
Louis, how you get so many deals? Share that
Right.
secret with us, please.
So any questions that anybody have?
Do you send this PowerPoint out?
I will have, Yana send it out. I will. Sorry. What's your name?
Josh.
Josh, I will. Okay. Any aha moments?
Yeah, you were talking about knowing yourself, what you are capable of, and I know it's many, that are not only going into jobs, but also have families that they have to manage. The hard part is kind of, understanding like what your limitations are, even though it seems like it is impossible to do it. Once you make the decision to do it, things do fall into place. As long as you believe you can really structure hours. And then know this is why you need it to be structured this way. I found out even just last week, when I changed my schedule around to meet other people's needs, it just blows everything for the rest of the week. So Monday, I do not show any progress. I think I've mentioned this in a couple of classes. Like Monday, I'm just collecting, myself, like what happened over this weekend, what did I leave off on Friday? And I made a listening appointment on a Monday. What happens after the listening appointment, I'm coming back, I'm trying to schedule a photographer, I'm trying to do this, that, and the other. And it just really blew my week because I was not able to catch up with last week or even prepare myself for what is to come for the rest of the week. So I realized I need to stay committed to that. No appointments on Wednesday, I don't care. You gotta understand, you're going to Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, or we're not gonna be, because Monday is not a day for.
And I love that. And that falls under which alphabet, y'all? Is that the R, the E, the R, the E, the A, or the L, what she just shared? It's the equipment. And that falls up under the equipment. And that's good. And I love that. It goes back to what she said, when you know your value, you know your worth, you set those expectations, right? Because if not, you'll be running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to meet all of these different, and sometimes you have to have crucial conversation with your client. Because sometimes clients do expect for you to stop, drop, and roll because they call.
Or they'll call you late night.
And I haven't done this yet, but I need to do that. These are my business hours.
Just how, because especially with existing clients or people who you've already had relationships with, so they're used to you stopping what you're doing and tending to them. I feel like newer people, it's, okay, I can start fresh with you.
But I think it's especially the ones that you've had a relationship with.
Right.
I would probably be a little bit more comfortable with one of the people that I have a relationship with than the ones I don't, right? And again, it goes back to, like you said, knowing your value, knowing what you add, knowing your worth, right? And not allowing people to monopolize your life. Because what do we know? How do we get paid? How much is gas? So you have to really be strategic about how you run your business because, yeah, but just have that conversation, set that expectation up front when you're having it. And that's something I have to do better with. And I come to you whenever getting a new client is having that consultation and saying, hey, this is the time that I have available. And then really be thorough in that conversation. Don't be hungry. Oh, this is a listing. I'm not gonna, oh, this is a listing. I'm just gonna take it.
Exactly.
Because listings
Stay
are,
hungry. never
Right,
thirsty,
right. and you jump because it's a listing. We always want listings. But even with that, in order for me to give that client the best of me, I have to make sure I stick to my schedule. You was gonna say something?
I was just gonna add to it that we already know our expectations or our standards, how we structure our business. But what we don't know is what the buyer or the seller schedule is. It is essential to ask that question up front, so that way you can, kind of compare it to what your own schedule is. So I always ask everybody I work with, what's your schedule like? Are you available nights and weekends, or available during the day, or strictly nights and weekends? And
That's
when
good.
we ask that
Know your
question,
client's schedule as well as your own schedule. That's
that's
good.
right, and so then now you get to introduce your schedule and how it compares to that, like what, if you're available during the day, when you're off on Tuesday, okay, you go late to work on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and we do those morning. So you ask them their hours, and then you can yourself into their schedule. right?
And so that's part of building a relationship with that client.
Yes. the art, the
She's
art,
right.
the art.
Build a relationship with your client in that art. Yes,
My
ma'am.
God, that's what
Or
we
when,
do, so.
or when you have like your own boundaries too, like she was saying, like, how do you stop that? Or whatever, don't respond the next day between your hours, like,
And something my son told me to
or
do.
whatever, like, just DMV your phone, like, put something, well, I don't DMV my phone, because I don't never know if I can be somebody's emergency, but I just don't respond no more. Like, I used to respond at night, I look at the clients, like, last night, I say, what time it was when she texted me? She texted me 11:34 PM last night. I ain't calling back till 11:34 today, because you knew better than to text me that late.
Yeah, so my son helped me with that because I have a
Yeah.
client that's a friend of his. And he told my son that I wasn't responsive enough because his wife sent me an email, a text message at 9 o'clock in the morning. And like, I didn't respond to it until like 5 o'clock that afternoon. I'm like, but did I respond? So he says, well, Mom, maybe you should just put automatic reply on your phone to say that I will respond within the next 24 hours or whatever my response time may be. And that will help for that. Now, I was like, okay, whatever. But he was right. But people will, I mean, it's unrealistic in my opinion to think that someone is really just sitting back and saying, oh, I hope somebody texts me. It's not realistic to think that they're gonna always get a response. I'm not glued to my phone like that.
Yeah.
And so, but that is a tool that we can, especially when you're juggling, multiple things. So I haven't did it yet because I don't know how. So when I get home, thank you for that reminder, because I'm gonna tell Trey to go and set that up for me, just to put an automatic reply that this is your, you can do it.
You can do
Yeah.
it. You can
See?
do it on text, you can do it on your Instagram, you can do it on your emails, you can do it on anything.
On your voicemails. Of course, it's easy to do on your voicemail. You can just put that on your
I know you
voicemail.
can do it on like email. I didn't know you can do text messages.
Yeah. Yeah. Learn something. I don't know if this thing is still on, but Dion, if you're looking, you can turn this off. We're done. We're just chatting. So thank you guys for joining us. And I hope that some of these tips was helpful. Remember, to be a success, you got to keep it real. Relationship, equipping, attitude, and leadership, leading yourself.
Great class.
And one thing I did know